guys, so we're going to be doing Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher's Synastry charts today. We'll also look at the composite as well. I just feel like they're such a cute, very famous couple. We all know that it'd be really interesting to have a look at their Synastry and to see what kind of relationship, what's on the surface compared to maybe what's a little bit deeper. So they have opposite suns, hers in Leo, his in Aquarius. And I like to maintain that in Synastry, sun sign compatibility does matter, as well as in the composite as well. Especially you want to see nice aspects with the sun and moon. In the composite, it shows how the two people are joining together and working as a couple. And this is because the sun is what really guides our purpose and lifestyles in life, and essentially makes us feel like we're heading in the same direction. And if you couple this with some nice supportive Jupiter aspects, North Node aspects, you can essentially feel like you're able to learn and grow together as a couple and individually on your journey of life. So in Synastry, it's really important to understand what two individual people need before you look at the Synastry, because you need to see if the relationship is actually serving the individual needs of the person. So I'll do a quick individual analysis before we go into the Synastry. So for Ashton, his needs are definitely centered around having a sense of community and belonging, you know, with his friends and his family, his friends that maybe act like family. This is, he's got a lot of Aquarius or Uranian quality in his chart. And the Aquarius stellium is also trining the Jupiter. So that's really what's giving him a good sense of meaning and optimism in life is this feeling connected with other people and like-minded people around him. I think Mila working with him as well on the 70s show and them sort of connecting and feeling like very familiar and like having a good friendship to start out with probably was quite attractive to him in that way because of all the Aquarius and his Venus in Aquarius as well. They really like to start out as friends and to be involved with their friends as well, their partner. There's also a real parental quality to him as well because he has got a Cancer Mars. Which is really lovely. It's very nurturing, but it's making a nice trine to Uranus as well. So that gives it a little bit more freedom and space. He's not so smothering with it. Again, it just supports his Aquarius stellium that he's very open-minded and carefree and likes space and autonomy with his friendships and his relationships. So he'll be like that with family a bit as well, although there is still this nurturing quality going with that. And it makes him really loving and caring, but while also having a good understanding of like personal boundaries and, you know, space and autonomy that he gives other people and respect and expects in return. There's also a real fiery quality to him as well. He has his Mars square Pluto, so there is like maybe some inner frustrations he'll need to work out. Also maybe even power issues that have been pushed back into the subconscious with Pluto there. And these can also come out indirectly, especially with the Cancer Mars. They don't fight back directly. It's more a passive aggressive way if he's provoked. And Mila might actually trigger some of this within him. And this aspect can start out as very passionate and hot and heavy in the beginning. There's a lot of these planets, Mars and Pluto, are very, you know, primal and sexual in nature. But her Saturn-Pluto conjunction is squaring that Mars. And he's got that Pluto squaring his Mars natally. So she'll just play out the more aggressive side that he may feel like he needs to defend himself against. Mars needs to defend, especially with a square. And the Mars is such a personal planet as well. And, you know, for her, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is like her authoritative and disciplined side of her. So there may be some harshness there with this aspect. I think it'll really help him to learn how to handle like the inner frustrations and any anger or aggression within him. And at the end of the day, a real emotional maturity does come from it. Because two planets that are so primal and sort of very passionate and direct, they need some emotional maturity and wisdom surrounding it to not be exploitative or aggressive or too much and cause issues in life. So Mila is a sunny and confident Leo, and Leo is a much stronger position for the sun to be in compared to Ashton's Aquarius. It's in its detriment or its fall in Aquarius. So naturally, I think maybe with this pairing, the stronger sun, Mila's sun might play out as more a leadership role within the relationship. And her sun is also in the 8th house, so maybe she really shines in the area of finances, their joint finances, their shared assets and intimacy, and dealing with other people's money, any debts or any investments or anything like that. And she has a real strong and determined personality. She has a strong sun, it's sextiling her Saturn-Pluto conjunction, as well as a Scorpio moon, very intense, very passionate. So I think Ashton, with all his air, all the Aquarius, he brings in a lightness and an airy quality to her life that maybe she needs or benefits from. And she also needs someone to come in and love her darker, more vulnerable side. With a Scorpio moon and also a Venus in detriment with Venus in Virgo. Venus is also our self-esteem, so even though you might not see it with her, I think maybe she had to overcome some self-esteem issues coupled with her intense emotional nature. So I think a good long-term relationship that her and Ashton have built has really provided a good foundation for her to feel secure with that side of her and build the kind of trust that she needs in a relationship. So unlike Ashton, who has a Sun-Moon conjunction in Aquarius, which the Sun-Moon conjunction indicates a harmony, completeness and understanding between how he asserts himself and his personality, and how he also asserts his emotional nature and his needs. Mila doesn't have this. She has a square between her sun and moon, with her moon in Scorpio and the sun in Leo. So for her, more inner conflict and frustration with how she feels and how she wants to be and present herself. Her moon also squares her Mars, making her maybe quite reactive and sensitive, and a real need to channel and work out how best to express her intense needs and feelings and desires. That's Mars. And I always say the moon is quite insatiable in Scorpio. It needs a lot of emotional stimulation and to feel full, to feel like satisfied. It's in detriment in Scorpio for this reason. And they really need a powerful creative outlet to feel more satisfied, rather than trying to get this through other people or intimacy or externally. They can really channel this within themselves and dig deep emotionally to be able to understand where this is coming from is also really helpful for this placement. And with Mila, obviously, I think acting is a great channel for this aspect she has. Another thing about that real insatiable sort of nature of Scorpio moon, it can also play out because the moon is how we feed ourselves as well, how we nurture ourselves. It can be a need to like eat a lot, binging kind of that as well, because it's they get into trouble when they try and satisfy that strong emotional need externally. So for her, I feel like she's really channeled that through strong emotional expressions in her career. So with opposite suns, I think it creates a lovely balance of energies if you can overcome your differences and realize you actually are what the other person lacks. And this essentially strengthens you as a whole. The Venuses are also inconjunct by sign, so not having a whole lot in common when it comes to love and romance. Her Venus is in Virgo, so more centered around acts of service, quality time, and doing practical, helpful gestures for her loved ones. And for him, it's more having her a part of his community and his friends and showing her off to his friends and family. A little bit less practical and more about how we speak to each other. It's an air sign, it's about how he communicates and how he shows her off to friends and family. And all of his air influence, he needs a really strong, lively social life to feel loved, to feel accepted, and he wants her to be a part of that. And I think he really gets a lot out of this. It's also trining her Jupiter, so it's really a way to bring her out of her comfort zone a little bit and help also bring a lot more liveliness into her life. And she's probably also learned a lot about how to deal with social situations and how important relationships and social connections are in life from him. So then moons are squaring by sign. His in Aquarius, hers in Scorpio, so differing emotional natures, different ways to react emotionally, different needs, different upbringings, different family lifestyles. And then also inconjunct or quincunx Mercuries, which is how they think about things and how they're actually processing all this information about each other and their life and how they view things, their real personal views on things, as well as their communication style. So we're going to see how all this plays out in the composite chart. We'll look at the composite chart now. It may sort of line up a little bit better there, but I would guess that all of these aspects, there's quite a few difficult ones here, especially with a lot of the personal planets, that there would be a real need to learn how to communicate properly together, and a need to learn how to fight fair with each other. So in the composite, the sun and moon, they're not really talking or making an aspect, so it does support the fact that they're very different personalities and people. And I think if this relationship appears to be really healthy and really sturdy over a long period of time that they've been together, it's really down to the hard work and effort that they've put in. And I think seeing so many difficult aspects in their synastry makes this even more admirable, and that they have stuck it through. In their composite, Saturn does sextile Venus, so this really does add the ability to be able to work hard on something together. Well, Venus, it's the relationship that they're working on. It's not just the relationship, it's also the love and the amount of affection. It's like maintaining the work they put in to maintain that. That's what Venus Saturn aspects can do. There's also a really strong stellium there in Scorpio, a very dedicated and passionate sign. So with the moon, Mercury, Venus and Uranus there. And the stellium is also sextiling Jupiter and Saturn. So it gives quite a lot of grounding to them actually, a lot of earth, a lot of water, quite grounded actually as a couple. And for me, the Sun-Uranus conjunction stands out a lot. A big theme of this relationship is, and maybe the reason they work so well, is because they have real respect and understanding for the need for each individual to live their own separate lives as people, as individuals, and also respect each other's individual thoughts, feelings and opinions and feelings. It's because Uranus gives a lot of friendship and acceptance, and also combine that with Jupiter, it brings a lot of open-mindedness and conversation around discovering and exploring and being individuals, but also together. They probably have a lot of adventures together and know that that's a quality they want to enjoy together. So they can just be happy for each other and each other's interests and success as well. The sun is also squaring the nodes, the north node and south node, and I actually see this one quite a lot. It indicates a very karmic bond and one that's very difficult to get out of. It adds durability because it makes it difficult to move forward together, but also to move backwards. So you're sort of in this limbo position together where you have to, or you're forced to work at things together, because the north node is like the future, the south node the past, and you kind of have to get the best of what you're bringing together and how to move forward. You have to work together and you have to overcome any differences, and depending on what other aspects the sun is making. So they have the sun opposite the Chiron, which is quite a difficult one. That will also be emphasized. I always see a lot of Chiron in synastry or composite because there is an attractiveness to Chiron's soothing and healing quality, and being able to see each other's vulnerability and wounds, it really bonds people together. So they may share a similar pain or wound or insecurity, and they have to overcome that together, or maybe have overcome that together and integrate it, the acceptance of that into their lives and that of each other. There's a real accepting and soothing quality to this. Even though it's a hard aspect of an opposition, I would say maybe a square would be very difficult. It'd be difficult to work through, but painful, but still doable. Chiron can really add a real human quality to relating that is just so beautiful and sweet when you can just have compassion for each other and just love each other anyway. They've also got support for the Chiron because it's trining Jupiter, so they can gain a lot of perspectives and understandings and maybe revelations and sort of a wider view of things with Jupiter trining Chiron. So whatever they've got that is painful together, they can just step back and have some optimism and clear-sightedness about it, because Jupiter is just a benefic. It adds a positivity to it, and it helps them be really in tune together as a couple with what really matters in life. That's Jupiter. Overall, this is a very deeply bonded relationship, and it's definitely more obvious in the composite than the synastry. So it's really important to look at the composite charts, the Davison charts as well. If you're really getting into this, look at the progressions as well. You get a full picture the more charts that you can look at and try and gain pieces of the puzzle to create a more holistic understanding of something. It's very tempting to want to pick apart aspects and look at those individually, but they won't tell you an overall theme. And another way to do that is to also look at the individual personalities and needs. So if you're a personality like Ashton that needs a lot of freedom and friends and community, you're going to need to find someone that also is a lively personality, someone like Mila who can bring the fire into his life and sort of support that. So yeah, these are really important, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like or comment. I'll see you soon.